Houston Texans, Houston Rockets, Houston Dynamo, Houston everything, Houston born and raised, H-Town Rebel Space Cadet Sports.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, folks of all stripes, and distinguished guests, put your hands together for the Space Cadet Sports Podcast. Houston, we have Paul Salazar Jr.
Hey y'all, welcome back to the Space Cadet Sports Podcast, your Houston sports podcast for diehard Houston sports fans, from a diehard Houston sports fan. I'm Paul Salazar Jr., your favorite diehard Astros fan podcaster. I'm a comedian, improviser, writer, creative multi-hyphenate, and most importantly, I'm a proud Houston native, and I have the receipts to prove it. I've been to the Art Car Parade. That's right, folks. If you don't know what the Art Car Parade is, well, you need to get on it, folks. I've spent the last decade or so as a comedy writer in Los Angeles, and now, well, I'm podcasting, obviously. That's what happens when you hit 10 years out here. You start absent-mindedly calling it the 10 instead of I-10, and the governor shows up and gives you a podcast. Welcome to said podcast. Space Cadet Sports was started as a passion project because most media is infuriating. As a diehard long-term fan of your Houston sports teams, here we aren't doom and gloom casual Astros fans, or Houston fans obviously, or worse, the national media haters. We love our team and root them on, but we also want to try to discuss the ins and outs of them without too much homerism. The key word here, of course, is try. I'd like to welcome returning listeners and, of course, welcome new listeners to what my brother calls the Paul Broadpod Ball Blog. Hey, brother. Check out spacecadetsports.substack.com for the full blog experience, or the full blog experience, depending on your interpretation of my pronunciation there. We're recording this transmission here in sunny Los Angeles, where I'm joined, as always, by my co-host and co-producer, the Roz to my Frasier. Carla, the dog, is here with me. Longtime listeners of the podcast know that she may get on mic from time to time. We know that she's got the hot takes on this podcast. On this episode, we're going to look back at the short series sweep against the Sacramento A's of Los Angeles. And we're going to look ahead to a 4-game series at home starting tomorrow. But before we completely get into it, of course, I want to say a good day, mates, to all my listeners out there. But let's get to it. Vamos, Houston. Let's talk some Astros baseball. Before we completely get into the series recap here, it has been officially announced that Ronel Blanco will be getting Tommy John surgery, and of course that will be season ending for La Blancura, in a really unfortunate just chain of events, losing 2 pitchers to Tommy John surgery, was not something that fans or the organization I know was anticipating or looking forward to in any kind of way. We're wishing Ronel Blanco, a nice, safe surgery and healthy road to recovery. Of course, he really looked like he was turning it around. The beginning of the season was a little rougher for Ronel. A lot of people were speculating as to what that could be. Obviously, Ronel Blanco played a lot of winter ball previous seasons because he was, trying to make the main team. And now that he had a full season with the Astros, he had a lot of wear and tear on that arm after a long season of starting. They kind of were like, you don't need to play winter ball this season, Ronel. Why don't you take it easy, take a rest? And, maybe he just wasn't quite in the form that he was used to being at that time of the year, and he had a little bit of a slower start, but it looked like Ronel was really turning it around, and unfortunately, we kind of felt it was going to be like this. We basically have been talking about Ronel on the podcast as if we knew that he was going to be gone for an extended amount of time, and this definitely, it's not like we were trying to be pessimistic, but it just seems like whenever things happen like this in the league recently, that means there's going to be a surgery or at least an extended amount of time on the IL. So we're wishing better health to Ronel Blanco, obviously better health to Hayden Wesneski. And it's unfortunate. We've talked about injuries in the past, but since that was official news, we wanted to mention that. But let's go ahead and try to talk about something a little more positive than just pitching injuries. We'll definitely get back into it a little bit more, I'm sure, as the podcast goes on. But let's talk about some positives here. The Houston Astros go off on the Sacramento Athletics of Las Vegas, and they beat them 11-1 in yesterday's game. And then today they have a come-from-behind win, a little bit of a back-and-forth game from your Houston Astros to beat the 10-run Jinx, winning 5-3 today in an early brunch game against the Athletics. And folks, we're so happy. First of all, we said that they were going to sweep them. I feel nervous about predictions and projections, but it's part of the game. If I'm going to be out here podcasting, that's something people want to hear. We do say this is a comedy podcast. I like to mention that before I make my projections and predictions, especially if I'm talking about gambling lines and stuff like that. It's a podcast that's making jokes. Don't forget that, folks. But I was very happy to see that they were able to solidly close the door on this short series. They were beating the allegations of the 10-run Jinx. You love to see that. Coming from behind, battling in this series is what you like to see against a team that has had some struggles. They've had some success, these Athletics. They've also had some struggles. It's good to see that the Astros were able to maintain that momentum and just come out swinging against the Athletics here, folks. Another little thing here to mention, of course, we were talking about injuries. We wanted to mention that that Christian Walker went out of this game today on Wednesday. Today's game against the Athletics, he left because he was hit by a pitch on the hands. He had to go get an X-ray, and the X-rays are negative. And hopefully Christian Walker will return very soon. Obviously, we need a middle of the lineup. We need a heart of the lineup. It's kind of been MIA for a lot of games this season, especially with Jordan out. I think there was some graphic that the Space City Network put up there when the Astros win, Christian Walker is slugging, he's hitting home runs, and he's got a high batting average. But when the Astros lose, Christian Walker has been a goose egg, and I think that really goes to show, this season, I've been saying all season long that, because the lineup is a little bit different than it has been in previous seasons. There's not the protection of Bregman. There's not the protection of Tucker. We're going to need the heart of this lineup to really slug in order to win games. And the heart of the lineup has struggled for slugging this season. There's been a lot of momentum from the top of the order. There's been a lot of power coming from the bottom of the order at times, but the heart of the order has really been the bane of the Astros' existence. And Christian Walker being gone with an injury for an extended amount of time is not going to help that. Look, Zach DeZenzo had a home run in this game. Cam Smith has really been turning it around. However, those are not the guys that I was looking to depend on in the heart of the order. Look, maybe they could have a good season. They could have a really good summer, start getting consistent, and really earn, the fifth spot or the sixth spot in the lineup. There's been a lot of Jake Myers in the fifth and sixth spot of the lineup. There's been a lot of Brendan Rodgers in the fifth and sixth part of the lineup, folks. Yainer Diaz has had a tough season. I really have not wanted to even get into it. I've mentioned in previous podcasts how out of all the people in the lineup that I was worried about in the beginning of the season, when it comes to getting on the right page, Yainer Diaz was the one that I was the most concerned about. Obviously, Yonder has talent. He has shown that he has talent. He has pop. He has power. However, he also doesn't have the same consistency as a lot of these hitters have shown in the past. Christian Walker, I felt confident that he'll turn it around. Isaac Paredes is a machine up there. In a different way, he kind of reminds me of Michael Brantley. They don't have the same approach, but he's just up there being a professional hitter, being patient, and you just feel good about an Isaac Paredes at bat. I was always feeling good about a Michael Brantley at bat in any situation. That's how I feel about Isaac. I really feel like this Walker injury, we're hoping is super minor. We're hoping that this won't be an extended amount of time, because I truly think that it will be so much more difficult for the Astros to find a heart of their lineup that works without Walker. And I know that Walker hasn't exactly been tearing the cover off the ball. He's definitely kind of been swinging in the right direction lately. However, just the same thing with Jordan. Even when he was struggling, the guy would get an intentional walk. These guys demand a certain amount of respect in the lineup, and if pitchers don't have to respect those batters, it just kind of changes the momentum of the game, because the pitchers can kind of approach things a little differently. And that kind of even was a little bit of the problem with Jordan this season. He was injured for sure, but also without the protection of Bregman and Tucker in the lineup, pitchers were pitching him a little bit differently. They didn't have to worry as much about as much power coming from the Houston Astros lineup without those two gentlemen in there. Obviously, Tucker is still doing great. Bregman is injured, and we're wishing him the best as well. But without Walker, we're definitely looking for a middle of the lineup, folks. And maybe that can be Jose Altuve. Jose Altuve has been hitting third and fourth as of late. Primarily, second, third, somewhere around there. I'm like, has he? I think he, had one game maybe in the fourth spot. I think I might be, I'm going to have to go back and look at the box scores, for sure. Not trying to give you guys incorrect information, but he's definitely, been dropping down the lineup is what my point is, while I'm perhaps saying things that are inaccurate. He has been in the third spot. Maybe, now that he has kind of got that momentum back, maybe he can get back to, maybe he can be a person in the cleanup spot while we're looking for Walker to get right for the next couple of games. We'll have to see. You'll have to let me know what you think this next game's lineup is going to look like. I'm going to take a quick break as you think about what you think this next game's lineup is going to look like. We'll be right back, folks, to talk about some more Jose Altuve, this offense, and the lineup going forward.
Houston Astros, Houston Texans, Houston Rockets, Houston Dynamo, Houston everything, Houston born and raised, H-Town Rebel Space Cadet Sports.
Hey y'all, we are back. Jose Altuve, I was out on the break speculating as to whether or not he's hit fourth. I really don't think he has. Maybe like one game, if even. But with Walker out, is Jose Altuve potentially a guy that you could slot into the cleanup spot maybe for a game or two if Walker needs it? Jose Altuve has had two home run games recently, and he just came off of a 4-hit game, not a 4-game, a 4-hit game where he was lifted before his 5th hit. There's been some speculation as to whether or not that was the right move by Astros manager Joe Espada. Truly, I think Jose Altuve is in that position as a veteran player that if he wanted to, Jose Altuve would have stayed in the game. I think Jose Altuve's, kind of his mindset is getting right, not like padding any stats or anything like that. I think Jose Altuve was happy to kind of have a get right game. He's really seeing the ball well. He's swinging right. He's getting the results he wants. So I think he was just happy with the results knew it was a blowout game and was happy just letting one of the young guys come into the game. Having Zach DeZenzo come in for him. I really don't think that is a story. I think if Jose Altuve really wanted to, he would have stayed in that game. He would have just said, "Hey, Skip, hey, I'm not coming out. I want to go try to get that fifth hit." I think Jose Altuve was okay with that. I think going forward, we're obviously, one more thing, just wanted to mention, we're so ecstatic that the Astros beat that 10-run jinx. We're on Blue Sky, making jokes on Blue Sky. And I made a joke the other day referencing that the Astros were getting dangerously close to double digits, and some friends were kind of freaking out, jokingly freaking out, I believe so. Not actually doing it. Freaking out that we can't jinx it. We can't jinx the 10-run thing. I'm so happy they could beat those allegations. Slowly the Astros have been beating some of these allegations, these ghosts that have been haunting them. They're playing well at home. They were able to bounce back against the Athletics, for sure, against the Athletics, but they were able to break the 10-run jinx, and we're hoping that they could do that going forward. I think if we're looking at the pitching in this game for a quick change of pace, let's see how the starting pitchers did in these games. For those of you who listened to my podcast episode where we are previewing this series, I said that I thought Hunter Brown was going to go out there and shove. He was going to pitch with a chip on his shoulder, and we are looking for McCullers to limit his walks and go out there and go deep into the game. And folks, you've heard of Jimmy the Greek. Call me Paulie the Geek, because I called it. I really was happy. Look, a broken clock is right twice a day, So Hunter Brown went out there with a chip on his shoulder, and he shoved. Hunter Brown in that first game got 6 innings pitched. He gave up 6 hits, only 1 run, 1 earned run, got 8 strikeouts, and gave up a home run. The Athletics might not be world beaters, but they definitely have a high-powered offense, and they like hitting the long ball. It definitely sucked that he was so close to a shutout there, but he did give up that home run. But overall, just a dominant performance from Diesel. You love to see it. And then the next day, earlier today, as of the recording of this podcast, Lance McCullers Jr., Mr. Bury Me in the H, Mr. I'll go to war for Houston, so we'll go to war for Lance McCullers Jr. on this podcast. He went out there and he had a great game. He was throwing curveballs and sliders. For those of you who listen to the podcast, I have been saying, specifically in some of his tougher outings, that Lance McCullers Jr., a lot of his problems, you can go on a Baseball Savant. It's not just my take. The data backs it up. Part of his issue is that he's having trouble setting up setting up his pitches, because his fastball is just he's just struggling with the command of it, and I think it's hard to set up those breaking pitches when you're struggling to set it up because your fastball isn't quite there. So I feel like in this game, I believe it was Todd Callis. It might have been Blummer. I apologize for misremembering, but one of them mentioned this on the broadcast, how, his breaking pitches have been really good. He's been setting up his breaking pitches a little bit with his changeup there. His cambio, Lance McCullers Jr. is now on the cambio change with the cambio train with the rest of the Astros pitchers that got changeups last season. His changeup has been really good, but that fastball, he's struggling at times with that fastball, and that's something that hopefully McCullers can figure out a way to make that a little more competitive. But as of the recording of this podcast, he is pitching really well with that changeup and those breaking pitches. He had 6 innings pitched, gave up 5 hits, gave up 3 runs, obviously 3 of them earned, and had 12 strikeouts and 1 walk, and he gave up a home run. But those 2 things were what I was focused on in last podcast, and I mean, obviously Lance McCullers Jr. listens to this podcast. being ridiculous, of course, but we know that that's what he wanted to do, is go out there and limit the walks and get a high amount of strikeouts. And these uneven numbers led the Astros to success with just one walk and 12, count them, 12 strikeouts for your boy Lance McCullers Jr. That you really love to see it. You love to see him pitch so well. I feel like there was moments in this game where the crowd got a little restless. But, I think right now, more than ever, is a time to just rally behind LMJ. We want to give him that love. He's starting to get some momentum in the right direction. We need him to be that third pitcher in the rotation. He doesn't really have the luxury of kind of figuring it out anymore, because we need him to be competitive. And as one of our veteran pitchers, the younger pitchers and the coaching staff and the Astros are looking to him to shoulder a good amount of this load. It is a lot of pressure. I can't imagine that pressure, but he has that pressure on him, and he executed today in this game. I feel like Lance McCullers Jr. is a competitor, and he is going to fight for this team, I'm excited to see what his next start is going to be. On a side note here, while we're talking about pitching, obviously the Astros bullpen has been nails, but Sean Dubin still has a 0 ERA after pitching in this series. He is 2-0 with 9 2/3 innings pitched, 11 strikeouts, but still has that 0 ERA. We're going to need to rely on Dubin too, while we have a bunch of rookie pitchers in the back of the rotation here, folks. Whoever that long relief guy is going to get put to work. Much like Brandon Bielak last season, there's going to be some games where the rookie pitcher, where the younger pitcher might need to be lifted, and we're looking for that long reliever to go out and eat some innings, give him the mop, let him eat. Sometimes it be like that. So right now, one of the biggest stories is all of the injuries that the Astros have. We have a whole starting rotation on the IL now with Blanco, Wesneski, Garcia, Javier, and JP France. Obviously, Spencer Arrighetti is still on the IL, but we're hoping that he comes back soon. Needs him. We need him to come back soon. We need some tested pitching back right now. The pitching rotation has been doing all right. They have been fighting back there, but obviously we are nervous about what this rotation is going to be like without Blanco. So it'd be really great to have Spencer Arrighetti get right now. We would love to see Spencer Arrighetti back. We would love to have Christian Walker back tomorrow, and of course, we need Yordan back. Yordan, please. If I could chop off my hand and give it to you, I would. Please come back soon. With that being said, with me in desperation, willing to give body parts to Yordan Alvarez, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back to talk about the pitching matchups going forward in this next series against the Tampa Bay Rays.
Houston Astros, Houston Texans, Houston Rockets, Houston Dynamo, Houston everything, Houston born and raised, H-Town Rebel Space Cadet Sports.
Hey y'all, we are back. Let's talk a little bit about the Astros going forward. Let's first of all, we are going to actually respond to a comment on Blue Sky today. Very excited about that. We like interacting with fans. A good friend commented, and I don't think I went too hard, but I definitely had a long explanation, so I thought I'd go to it in further detail here on the pod. But before we get to that, let's look at these matchups going forward, starting for tomorrow's game Thursday at home against Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is coming into town for a 4-game series, and they have Shane Baz as their first starting pitcher to go up against Ryan Gusto. Shane Baz this season is 4-3 with a 4.94 ERA. In 54 2/3 of innings pitched with 52 strikeouts and a 1.39 ERA. Slightly elevated numbers from his his career numbers. Shane Baz is a Houston native. That kind of blonde mustache is kind of what you know him for. This 25-year-old right-hander, Tampa Bay is kind of known for having great pitching. So, yeah, he might be having a bit of a struggle season for his standards, but he's still a pitcher to be respected. We'll see what he brings, but the Astros are definitely kind of have some. I mean, mediocre pitching seems mean to say because anybody that obviously is out there pitches a whole lot better than I ever could, but just kind of. I would say like Tampa Bay Rays type pitchers. These are guys that might not completely light it up for other teams, but these guys have been coached up. They're competitive pitchers, and just because Tampa Bay is kind of having an off type season doesn't mean that we shouldn't respect these pitchers. This seems kind of like a trap series for me for these Houston Astros. Sometimes they can play down to talent and things like that. So we're hoping that while some of these numbers might not look too great for these pitchers, obviously we know that they can compete because let's talk about who we have on the mound. Ryan Gusto. Ryan Gusto is 3-2 with a 4.58 ERA and 35 and 1/3 inning pitched with 38 strikeouts and a 1.53 WHIP. Very limited sample size for Ryan Gusto, but obviously from what we've seen from the eye test of Ryan Gusto, we know that we kind of like what this guy does as a competitor. He might have had some bad luck, he might have had some tough pitches that got beat, but still we know that Ryan Gusto going on the mound, we feel decent about. So I think that this game will be kind of like a get right pitching duel to see which one of these pitchers can kind of get right first. Shane Baz obviously has better repertoire. Not repertoire. He has more of a history. He has more of a track record. So we are nervous about him kind of getting right against the Astros. The Tampa Bay Devil Rays are 28-27. So even though we feel like they're kind of having an off season, they're at 500 right now, and the season is we're not too deep into the season, so they really could turn it around here. We don't want them to turn it around against us. After tomorrow's game on Thursday, the Friday game is going to have Framber Valdez go to the mound for your Houston Astros. Framber Valdez is 4-4 on the season. Almost bought tickets there. Don't want to buy tickets. I am not in town. I'm obviously in Los Angeles. You should go to these games for me, though, folks. Framber Valdez, La Grasa, has a 3.39 ERA, a 69 innings pitched. Nice. He has 64 strikeouts and a 1.14 WHIP. So Framber is him. He has been pitching like an ace. The only people that don't say Framber has been pitching like an ace are the people in Houston. Anytime I turn the national media on, they're talking about Framber Valdez pitching like an ace and how they're happy that Framber is going to be traded to their team at the trade deadline or is going to be on their team next season after free agency. So many people think La Grasa is a great pitcher. Only in Houston is there a narrative that he is not an ace. So we're excited that Framber Valdez will be out there in this game. We're gonna, with these the pitching rotation that we have, anytime that we have one of our aces in the series matchup, it's a good thing for us winning the series. The Tampa Bay Rays will have Ryan Pepiot. I believe that's how you pronounce his name. Apologies if I am wrong there. I get them wrong all the time, and I'm not trying to do it as a bit. There's a lot of jokes and sarcasm and silly things that I do on the show on purpose here, but mispronouncing a name is never one of them. I'm never trying to be disrespectful. I'm just bad at pronouncing things and reading things. I apologize. Already mispronouncing it. Ryan Pepiot is 3-5 with a 3.55 ERA, 63 1/3 inning pitch with 52 strikeouts and 1.23 WHIP. He's definitely the pitcher going up for the Rays that has the best numbers here. He's going up against our ace. Obviously, Hunter Brown is on a tear. Framber Valdez gets that ace status because he's opening. He has started opening games. So he's that ace status because he's number one on the call sheet, if you will. But we all know that Hunter Brown has been him this season. But seeing those two big pitchers going up against each other, that might be a lower scoring affair in that game. Maybe not quite the pitcher get right. The first game is like a pitching duel between pitchers trying to get right. There might be more offense in that game, and this one might be a bit more of a lower scoring affair. In the third game of the series, the Astros will have Colton Gordon going to the mound for them. Rookie lefty Colton Gordon. He's 0-0 with a 5.52 ERA and 14 2/3 of an inning pitched, with 14 strikeouts and a 1.43 WHIP. Colton Gordon, this young lefty, is still trying to figure it out. He's had some very very good moments. He's had some very tough moments. But at the end of the day, he's been a competitor. I've liked what I've seen out of him, and I'm looking forward to seeing more from this kid. We need to see how this back end of the rotation is going to be bandaged together. And, truly, we right now is a good time while the Astros, kind of are above 500 and competing to let some of these younger pitchers have an outing. So I'm looking forward to seeing what Colton Gordon will bring, but honestly, I don't really know what to expect at this point. We will have to see together, folks. Zach Littell will be pitching for the Tampa Bay Rays in this game. He is 4-5 with a 3.97 ERA with a 65 2/3 innings pitched, 42 strikeouts, and 1.08 WHIP. So obviously low strikeouts, but also a low WHIP. That ERA is low, so he's putting a lot of balls into play. And so there might be an opportunity for the Astros to kind of get lucky, maybe make sure they're putting the ball into play in the right spaces. Maybe a little small ball from the Astros in this game will help them get over the edge. And in the fourth game of this series, Sunday brunch game, Diesel will go to the mound. Hunter Brown is pitching for your Houston Astros. He is 7-3 with a 2 ERA. 67 2/3 innings pitched with 79 strikeouts and a sub-1 WHIP at .92. This guy, sign him now. Get him on a contract now. I want Hunter Brown and JP3 to be locked up. This guy is amazing. He'll be pitching against Taj Bradley for the Tampa Bay Rays. Taj Bradley's 4-4 with a 4.38 ERA and 63 2/3 of an inning pitched with 54 strikeouts and a 1.26 WHIP. I think we're winning this game. No disrespect to Mr. Taj Bradley. I think when Hunter Brown is on the mound and he's been doing what he's doing, you feel good about winning a baseball game. I'm just saying we win that game. So we're looking at this here. I think I'm going to say we're winning this 4-game series. We're winning 3-1. I think the Tampa Bay Rays are going to battle, but I feel really good about the momentum of this Houston Astros team right now. And before we wrap up, obviously I said that somebody on Blue Sky, let's pull it up here. Let's pull it up. Somebody on Blue Sky, basically, I was saying, how I'm feeling good. I was kind of bragging. I was saying, go back to the podcast, check the receipts. I was trying to get people to listen to the podcast, tell them that I called the sweep, and I go check it. The Astros are now 30-25 with the best run differential in the AL West, but are 1 game back from Seattle. And, Alan, shout out Alan. Alan is a great guy on Blue Sky, comments on my posts, and he said, surprisingly, we are so close because we have not played good so far this year. And I totally get it. I'm not disputing Allen to be a jerk. I just think that it seems like we haven't played good this year. And that's not taking away what you see with your eye test, okay? I'm not trying to invalidate your feelings here, therapy talk, folks. Some of us are in therapy. Obviously, I understand that feeling, but I think it feels that way, and this was my comment. It feels that way, but the Astros offense is hovering around league average for home run, RBIs, OPS plus, and believe it or not, are slightly above league average in slugging. The league average for slugging is 392, and the Astros are 394. I continue in my comment. I think they've been average while playing a tough schedule, but we're so used to excellent, so we feel it's bad. If we could get healthy, though. And obviously, that's being the end of the comment because, goodness, if we could get healthy, I'd be a whole lot more optimistic about where this team is headed. However, the team is league average or hovering around league average in so many of these categories offensively, and it just doesn't seem right because they don't hit with runners in scoring position, but they, even in runs a game, they're like 4.3 runs a game, which is slightly above league average. I really think that this team isn't quite as bad as we feel they are. And we feel they're bad because we've been spoiled by excellence. We've been spoiled by excellent Houston Astros baseball. This is not what most people get as baseball fans, this long run of excellence. So we are like, this team is not quite as good as the other one, so they must suck. However, for a little bit of perspective, the Houston Astros, as of May 22nd, have had the second highest schedule difficulty in baseball. They've played a really difficult schedule, and they're above 500. And going forward, to give you some optimism, the Houston Astros have the easiest schedule going forward as of May 22nd. Let's obviously hope they don't play down to their competition, but if the Astros can figure out their back end of the starting rotation, if the Astros can get Christian Walker and Yordan Alvarez back and slugging, this team's going to win the West. I said that this team is going to win 90 games. I stand by it. I think that I might be a little optimistic. I might be a little toxically optimistic about the Houston Astros. But from where I'm sitting, until other teams knock them off the hill, this team is king of the hill. And I truly believe that and think that until someone takes away that crown. Maybe you think a little differently. Definitely let me know what you think. I want to know your takes as well. And same thing with Alan. I'm not here to argue with anybody, but I do love talking baseball. And if we happen to have a slightly differing opinion, I still want to talk to you about it. But I'll try to do it calmly. And so we have a conversation. I want to have conversations with y'all out there. Let me know, folks. And with that being said, me asking for conversations, that's going to do it for this episode of the Space Cadet Sports Podcast, folks. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. Honestly, I really do appreciate it. I get numbers back, and I'm shocked that people are listening sometimes. But of course they are, because we all love our Houston Astros. If you've made it to this point of the podcast, please smash those buttons for me. Like, rate, review, subscribe, share, bop it, kick it, skip it, smash all of those buttons for me. We are a small podcast, self-deprecating podcast as well, so we only go as far as our listenership takes us. We are supported by listeners like you. So please share this with a Houston fan or an Australian in your life and give us a 5-star rating wherever you listen. That really does go a long way as well. Check out the Substack, spacecadetsports.substack.com, where you can be a subscriber for free. You put your email into that field, you get every podcast, every meme dump, every post that I don't put behind the paywall, obviously, emailed to you for free. And about the paywall, that's just a way to support the podcast. That's a way to support me and Carla. I don't like to put a lot of things behind the paywall, frankly, because we're trying to have a conversation with you Astros fans out there. I want you to see and hear the work. So obviously, if you do get premium, there are perks, but we want to keep a lot of this open to as many people as possible. Please reach out. Let me know your takes on social media at Space Cadet Sports on Instagram, at spacecadetsports.bsky.social on Blue Sky. Let us know your takes, or you can call in, leave me a voicemail on SpeakPipe. That's speakpipe.com/spacecadetsports. Once again, speakpipe.com/spacecadetsports. Let me know your take. Or if it's not just about sports for you, you're here because I'm a silly goose. You can find me making weird jokes on social media at Paul Salazar JR, making jokes, memes, art, podcasts, so much more. PaulSalazarJr.net, because I'm nothing but net. And you can find my other Substack and all the nonsense that I make, if you nasty, including merch. You get podcast merch, including a Cam Smith aircraft carrier hat on the website. Thanks for listening, folks. Thank you for supporting the podcast, whether you're listening or getting a premium subscription or just buying a hat. I really do appreciate it. It really, it's been a tough year for me. So doing this has been a passion project, but getting people to listen and support really has filled me with a bunch of great vibes. So thank you so much. Remember to be the best that you can be. Keep your head up, kid. And as always, vamos Houston.